Low ferritin can be the root cause of serious symptoms like fatigue, anxiety, restless legs, and hair loss, even if your blood iron levels are normal. But did you know that suboptimal ferritin can cause thyroid problems too? Keep watching to discover the common connection between low ferritin and thyroid problems and how to fix it. Low or suboptimal ferritin causes thyroid problems because the thyroid needs iron to complete many of its vital metabolism regulating processes. But what does ferritin have to do with iron? Ferritin is a protein that stores iron in your cells, safely transports it in the blood, and releases it when your body needs more iron to do important things like make red blood cells and bind active thyroid hormone to receptors. More on this in a minute. We need this ferritin protein because while iron is a super helpful micronutrient for your body, free iron is actually toxic to your cells, so it needs to be bound up or buffered when it's stored. That's ferritin's job, to keep a reserve of iron that's ready to go when your body needs it without exposing your cells to harmful free iron. So, when we measure your levels of ferritin in the blood plasma, we get a sense for how much of a backup stash of iron your body has at its disposal, as opposed to measuring iron in your blood directly, which is more common than measuring ferritin. Even if your iron blood test comes back within the normal range, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have enough reserve iron stored in ferritin to maintain all the functions of your body that require it, including the functions of your thyroid. We call this latent iron depletion, and it can result in a whole host of common problems, including poor thyroid function. One study found that out of 144 hypothyroid patients, 102 were found to be deficient in iron. That's over 70%. This is because iron plays several important roles in healthy thyroid function. Since the function of the thyroid is incredibly complex, let's do a quick review to make sure we're on the same page. The story of the thyroid begins in the brain, specifically an area of the brain called the hypothalamus. Now, if you've checked out any of my videos on stress and cortisol, you might recognize the hypothalamus as the H in the HPA axis, which is in charge of your body's stress response. This is one of the reasons that stress problems can create poor thyroid function. When the hypothalamus receives a signal from your body that it needs to tweak your metabolism, it sends a hormone messenger called thyrotropin releasing hormone, or TRH, to your pituitary gland. You might remember from high school biology class that the pituitary is known as the master gland because it makes so many different hormones that regulate all kinds of functions in your body. One of these pituitary hormones is called thyroid stimulating hormone, or TSH. If this hormone sounds familiar, it's because TSH is the standard screening test for thyroid function in conventional medicine. Interestingly, it doesn't measure actual thyroid hormone production, but rather it measures an intermediary in the process of thyroid function. Here's a good way to think about it. TSH measures how hungry or needy your brain is for more thyroid activity. When your pituitary starts cranking out TSH, it tells your thyroid gland to start making thyroxine, T4, as well as a little triiodothyronine, or T3. But we're not done yet. T4, which represents 80% of your thyroid gland output, is inactive. That means it can't interact with the cells of your body to regulate your metabolism until it's converted into the active form of thyroid hormone, T3. Only once T4 is turned into T3 can it bind to regulation sites called receptors on your cells and make that metabolic magic happen. So where do those iron reserves, stored as ferritin, come in? First, iron, along with other micronutrients like selenium and zinc, is crucial for the conversion of inactive T4 to active T3. This means that even if your thyroid is cranking out plenty of T4, you could still be suffering the effects of poor thyroid function because your T3 is lower than optimal. If you only measure TSH, which is what most doctors do to screen for thyroid problems, you could miss it. The second way low ferritin impacts thyroid function is by the formation of an inactive form of T3 called reverse T3. Low iron can cause too much reverse T3 to be made, which can block the binding of active T3 to the thyroid receptors on your cells. And if active T3 can't bind to your thyroid receptors on the cell, it can't communicate the messages needed to regulate your metabolism, which is a big deal. It also means that even if you're taking levothyroxine thyroid medication to raise your hormone levels, it might not be addressing your symptoms because it's being blocked by reverse T3. One study found that in women who still had symptoms of hypothyroid, even though they were taking levothyroxine, over 60% of them were able to eliminate their symptoms when they got their ferritin levels over 100 nanograms per liter. Another study found that not only did symptoms improve, but the actual hormone levels of anemic women with impaired thyroid function improved when they were given iron supplementation. So, if you're taking thyroid medication and are still experiencing fatigue, hair loss, anxiety, weight gain, or other hypothyroid symptoms, you need to test your ferritin levels, not just your red blood cells or your iron. Thankfully, this simple blood test is very accessible, and in certain cases, you may be able to order it yourself. It's also a good reason to get a comprehensive thyroid panel, including TSH, free T3, free T4, and thyroid antibodies. Most doctors don't test these crucial levels, meaning that poor thyroid function can hide in your labs for decades while you suffer from treatable symptoms. I'll put some lab testing resources in the video description to help you access your levels. Here's an important note about ferritin levels, especially if you've been told that yours are normal. Normal is not the same as optimal. For example, many leading functional medicine experts agree that hair regrowth is extremely difficult with ferritin levels below 70 micrograms per liter. The problem is that most conventional testing standards consider levels as low as 11 micrograms per liter to be normal. The bottom line is that if you're experiencing thyroid problems, your optimal ferritin level is probably between 90 and 110 nanograms per milliliter. So, what could be causing your low ferritin, and how do you fix it so that your thyroid functions optimally and you stop losing hair, gaining weight, snoozing through your alarm every morning, struggling with restless legs or anxiety? The list of thyroid symptoms is a long and very frustrating one. The root causes of low ferritin include low dietary intake of iron-rich foods, which is especially common for vegans and vegetarians, low stomach acid, the use of proton pump inhibiting medications, heavy metal toxicity, and poor absorption of micronutrients. Compromised micronutrient absorption can itself be caused by a few different underlying causes, including celiac or gluten sensitivity, autoimmune gastritis, commonly caused by an H. pylori infection, or other unhelpful microbes in the gut. I provide a more in-depth explanation of the most common root causes of low ferritin in a separate video, which I've conveniently queued up after this one, so be sure to stick around for the details. As for solutions for low ferritin, I also wanted to make things convenient for you. So I've compiled a ferritin boosting checklist that you can download for free. It includes my favorite iron supplements that don't disrupt digestion, as well as evidence-based strategies for improving iron absorption in the gut, like precision probiotics, essential cofactors, and digestive support. I've put a link in the video description for you, so be sure to grab your free download. If you're struggling with poor thyroid function and you don't know what to do next, assessing and addressing low ferritin can make all the difference. Thanks so much for watching this video. I hope you found it helpful, and I hope you check out the resources I've shared with you in the video description. If so, I'd really appreciate it if you'd hit that thumbs up button and subscribe to my channel. It helps more people find the functional medicine solutions that they need, and it also helps make sure that you don't miss out on the new videos I post every month. Thanks again, and we'll see you over in the next video.